بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين
ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن
Let me introduce my next speaker, Dr. Vijay Singh. Dr. Vijay Singh was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by California Psychological Association. He's the founding president in 1993 of Portobello Home Behavioral Health and Training Center. He's a chief psychologist since 2001. He's the founding president of IK Onker Peace Foundation in 2001. Since 2011, he is one of the trustees of the same organization. He was an adjunct professor at UC Berkeley since 1994 from 1994 to 2007. He was the dean of Rosebridge Graduate School of Integrative Psychology for 10 years. Dr. Vijay Singh received his doctorate in clinical psychology in 1965, his master's from Punjab University in New Delhi, and his BA from Mahendra College of Punjab in 1952. He's on the advisory board of Unity Foundation. He has been involved in peace organizations for the last 3 decades. He's been involved in peace organizations for the last 3 decades, such as Beyond War, Higher Education Group, United Nations United Religions Initiative, and Action Coalition for Global Change. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vijay Singh.
Thank you very much. I feel very honored and also I'm full of joy. Honored in the sense that this is such a distinguished gathering, especially you're like my own community through Dr. Rahmani. Dr. Rahmani and I've been friends for more than a quarter of a century. And in 1993, we had some idea that it's good to serve our own communities. So this Portobello Behavioral Health and Training Center was started at that time, and Dr. Rahmani said that he was going to serve as a Afghan community, and I can see he's quite successful at his endeavor. So I think I might say things which may be different. In some sense, And in some sense, it's obvious. You know, I was back half a century ago, and at that time we had a joke that physician knows a lot, but doesn't do anything. And the surgeon does a lot, but he doesn't know anything. A psychiatrist doesn't know anything and doesn't do anything. And so, to compensate for that, they have developed a big book they call the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. It may look like they know what they're doing. It's totally a useless thing, and a lot of the people, you know, they say, oh, we should go around and remove stigma from our communities of mental illness. First we create it, and then we want to do what we do. And I think it's very important, even though I'm just half joking, but it's a very serious issue that people have been scared of this mental illness. Because the way we say, now all mental illness is considered genetic or biochemical imbalance or hereditary, there is no evidence for it. I have been seeing in my practice for more than half a century, I have not seen one person who did have a real suffering. And that's the human condition. And to help people who are suffering, you need to do more than just drug them. And the medication can be helpful for very specific reasons for some time, but the real thing is somebody who really shares your suffering and listens to it in a way that it helps to kind of lead yourself off and find ways to deal with suffering which you really face. We have, since 1993, we started with 3% and a small rent, commission-based room we got from the Rosebery Graduate School. Now we have 12 programs and we are in 5 different locations in Fremont, Concord, Pittsburgh, Hayward, and Pleasanton. We have 12 different programs. And one of them, we were lucky, is serves the South Asian community from Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, all those South Asian countries. And this is very important. We provide services free. There's no cost to it. One of the things that we did the first 2 months was to not to use mental health, because when you are anybody here, there's nobody who has not had something that happened which upset us, and there are ways to deal with it, which is when we go out, there are flyers. If you haven't had one, you can pick up from my friend and colleague Rahmani. And so we talk about things which you do, like when you come parenting, those of us who are parents, we know it's not an easy job. You never know if you are doing anything right. But when you migrate from one culture to another, it becomes 100 times different. Because then the children grow up here with a different culture. I still have, if you can see me, I'm still look like a Punjabi, you know that. And then my daughters look totally different than me. They behave differently. So to have, it creates more issues in bringing up children in a dual culture. So if you have trouble in the family, people when they are under stress, the conflicts in the family go up. Even you'll be surprised, or maybe you won't, if you look back, that even when good things are happening, even when the couples go on a vacation, the intensity and duration of arguments go up. If you're buying a new house, if you're building a new house, it's even worse. So these are good things. So when you are under stress, you come to this country and then you're trying to bring up your kid, you're making your life. It's a lot more stresses. It's almost inevitable for people to take it out on the people who are just next to you when you're frustrated. So that's not mental health problem, these are life adjustment problems. And depression is not genetic, it's caused by suffering we have in life. We had, just to give you an example, there was a 60-year-old woman, and she is diagnosed with PTSD, major depression, anxiety disorder, and had a whole bunch of medications. The woman went to sleep. And this is the woman who had trouble sleeping with it, because of her PTSD and anxiety disorder. And so, the first few sessions, this is what happened. And then she taught her how to relax herself. She was able to go to sleep. After about 6 weeks, she asked the clinician if she could invite her for lunch. Of course, I was supervising her and she came to me, you are not supposed to socialize with your patients. And she said, what should I do? I said, nothing. Just ask her what brought it up. Now this is what the patient is saying to her. She said, I've been with the mental health system for over 10 years. I go to places, they give me my diagnosis, give me medication, nobody listens to me. You treat me like a human being, I feel good, and I would like to pay you back in a way to show my appreciation. And this woman, within 6 months on no drugs, she was able to sleep. She had no depression. She had 2 adult kids who would come to visit her because the woman is so crazy and hard to deal with. Because there's so much exaggeration and misrepresentation and translating people's real suffering into something called mental illness. And it's, when I first came here, I wanted to go back to India, and people said, how are you going to do all this there? I said, I'll tell people they're crazy, they should come and pay me, I'll help them. And this is what we do. And actually, before even we were here, the psychologists, psychiatrists, psychiatric social workers, nurses, people knew how to deal with life crises. In every country, without exception. But now, those cultural supports are not there, the way they used to be. How do you deal with, like what my friend was saying here, that having a community is the biggest asset you can have. In Nova Scotia, here in Canada, they have far less crime, far less health problems, far less post-mental health problems, and they found out because that community is surviving as a community. And it's very important for us who are immigrants to really maintain those community, cultural, spiritual practices. And I remember when I was living in Alabama, one of my neighbors was Rahmani, and his son, teenage son, came. He said, "Hey Dad," he said, "back up, I want to send back how to learn manners. You don't call your hey Dad." So all those little things make a difference, So I said, one of the things is you have to call yourself any names which are given to you, and you can come to us. We will try our best to give some news to you. Thank you for this opportunity, and I would really thank this special program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vijay Singh. beautiful, informative speech. Hope we all will get some very useful information from today's gathering. Our next speaker, Mark Salinas. Mark Salinas is our next speaker who was born and raised in Hayward. Mark earned a bachelor's degree from San Francisco State University in Latino and Latina Studies. In 1999, Mark earned a master's degree from San Francisco State University in Educational Administration and Public Policy Studies. For the past 15 years, Mark has taught history, sociology, and ethnic studies courses for Chicago College in Hayward. Mark is also the executive director of the Kids Breakfast Club, an education and nutritional organization for kids and their families. Mark has served on the Hayward City Council since 2010, and while I'm the council member for the city of Hayward, he specialized in ordinance and policies on health and safety, economic development, and strengthening partnership between schools, colleges, universities, and municipal government. Please join me in welcoming Mark Salinas to the stage.
Well, the good news is this: I only have 3 cards, and but my day job is I'm an instructor, and I used to be a politician, so I brought the best 4-hour speech of my career. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to give a disclaimer. I am not a medical doctor. It's quite an honor to be a part of this illustrious panel here. I can't remember the last time I had an opportunity or was invited to come and talk to a group in such company. This is quite a group. When listening to the presentations before me, I couldn't help but to think about the seriousness of mental health, the seriousness of social health, community health, but I also couldn't help but to think about the parallels between the Afghan community, the Latino community, the African American community, the Native American community, communities that I've been working with and have been studying for virtually my entire career. But what I want to do first is kind of sketch out some of this you probably already know coming from the professions that you're in and studying this. But I just want to start off by sketching out some demographic information. And I do this with hoping that I got my numbers right, because as I was researching this, I saw a lot of variation in the demographic work. As the variation comes when you talk about immigrant communities, we're either enumerated very low or we're enumerated very high, depending on who does the counting. But I looked at the Afghan coalition in Fremont, and according to their numbers, just in southern Alameda County, I want to defer to my colleagues here to see if I get the thumbs up or the thumbs down on this. But according to the Afghan coalition in Fremont, there's roughly, at the very least, 10,000 Afghans in southern Alameda County, or at the very most, about 15 to 20,000 Afghans in southern Alameda County. Does that sound, am I sort of in there? It's close? Okay. Well, but one thing is for sure, as being a product of Hayward, Hayward is, and has been for a very long time, home to the Afghan community. We are a point of entry for a lot of immigrant groups all over the world. Latin America, Mexico, Asia, and for sure the Middle East. And Fremont, of course, is home to a very large Afghan community, Hayward, Union City, and Newark. But there are some parallels between Afghans and Latinos. One is we're a very diverse community, ethnically, linguistically, culturally, even within our communities, where we have a lot of diversity within the community. We're also very multi-generational. And, you know, we have, as a result of coming into the United States, over the, you know, for the last 40, 50 years, having a history in the United States, particularly in California, we're now seeing our communities very multi-generational, but even within the household, inside our home, we're seeing multi-generational family members, kids, parents, grandparents, and sometimes we're now seeing great-grandparents or great-grandkids in our homes. We're very multilingual. We grow up perhaps speaking our home language, but then as generations unfold and generations move on, we begin to speak more than one language. And, you know, in the Latino community, one of the patterns we experience is usually around the third generation, fourth generation, we begin to lose our language, our home language, and we move solely to an English-speaking household. So with that said, I know we're going to have questions later, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, due to time limitation, we want to make sure we can close on time. At this time, let me ask one of our known individuals of the community شخصیت بازنی کشور مملکت و جامعه بایوجه دوست بسیار عزیز که همیشه هم اسمشون چیزی یاد گرفتیم تا پرس بلاک بازن و وایش کنید در مورد انگلیسی داشته site to read that also. Dr. Seth Abdul-Bazam, a former professor of economics at Columbia University. He has a PhD in economics from the University in Vienna and was the Dean of the Faculty of Economics at Columbia University. After April 1978 coup d'etat in Afghanistan, Dr. Kazem was imprisoned for 21 months in Policheki prison as a prisoner of the conscience. In February 1980, he was released from prison and months later he left Afghanistan for Germany. In 1982, Dr. Kazem took his family to California, and since 2006, he has been the president of Afghan Senior Association of Bay Area. Dr. Kazem is the author of multiple books, 7 books, and hundreds of articles. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Seth Kazem.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salam khidmat shuma. First of all, thanks Dr. Rahmani to invite me here to participate in this gathering. It was very useful. And so far as I see, most of our audience here are Afghans. I prefer to speak in Dari. And I'm not an MD or psychologist, but I'm मैं اقتصاد و علوم اجتماعی ساحه کارم است و خوشحال هستم که در پروگرامی که راجع به منتل هلت است با شما صحبت میکنم. در شروع صحبت دکتر صاحب رحمانی دو مثال دادن، یکی از شهید فرخنده و یکی هم از دختر جوانی که 2-3 روز پیشتر در ایمان خواست خودسوزی کنند و همین از این نمونه از یک مشکل روانی است که نه تنها در سطح از افراد بلکه نشأت میکنه از خود کمیونیتی و جامعه. اگر ما بخواهیم که خب بحث خود را به افغانستان ببریم، یک نکته بسیار واضح است که ما تقریبا کمتر از 40 سال دچار یک جنگ دوامدار هستیم و هر جنگ تحولات را بر خود میاره. این تحولات یک قسمت از این ویرانی شهر و دیو و قریه و سرک و امارات ایناست یا میتونن زود جبران شود، زود سرک آباد شود، زود تعمیرات مدرن آباد شود. شما دیدین اروپایی که تا تعداد خراب شده بود دوباره به شکل مدرن خودش آباد شد. ولی جنگ های طولانی که افغانستان در 40 سال داشت یا کمتر از 40 سال، سال 1978 و بعد تا تقریبا امروز، اینا نه تنها امون داشته های مادی مملکت را تخریب کردن، بلکه ارزش های معنوی جامعه را هم تخریب کردن. ارزش های معنوی جامعه مثل ارزش های مادی نیست که دوباره پس به شکلش حتی بهتر از رو احیا شود، بلکه ارزش های معنوی جامعه وقتی یک بار سقوط میکنن احیای مجدد از اون حتی گفتم میتونم که ناممکن است، برای اینکه ارزش های معنوی در طول قرنها تکامل کردن و سقوط از این باز هم به اون شکلی که در فرهنگ قدیم گنجانیده شده بود و هویت فرهنگی ما را نشان میداد که شما اعاده کردن نمی‌کنید. کشور ما در داخل با همینطور یک حالت مواجه است که ما ارزش‌های فرهنگی خود را از دست دادیم. شما ببینید حادثه فرخنده وقتی در فرهنگ افغانستان ارزش بوده این بود که وقتی با یک خانم رو برو میشدن که کتاب رحمانی میگفتن دیگران دفاع میکردن. شما داستان عیارها را دارید که در هر محل از ناموس مردم دفاع میکردن، مخصوصا از خانم‌ها، از غریب، از اینا و هیچ کس نمیتونست حق کس تجاوز کنه ولی که دولتمند بود یا ضعیف خود مردم دفاع میکردن. اما متاسفانه امروز ما محبوس از این میبینیم و این خود نشانی است که او ارزش عالی که در سابق وجود داشت در اثر جنگ از بین رفت و نسل جوانان نسل است که دیگر در سال بزرگ نشد، در جنگ بزرگ شد. او غیر از خشونت هم چیزی دیگه نمیدونه. بهترین وسیله چی به جای که قلم باشه اسلحه و تا امروز همین حالت وجود داره. به هر صورت معضلاتی که در داخل افغانستان است شکلش فرق داره با معضلاتی که از این است، ولی ما هم در اینجا نتیجه این جنگ در داخل افغانستان است. مهاجرت در تاریخ افغانستان سابقه نداشت. هیچ وقت شما نشنیده بودید که یک آدم پناهنده شود به یک کشور. باور بکنید من سالهایی که در اروپا درس می‌خواندم کلمه ریفیوجی را نمی‌شناختم برای اینکه هیچ مطرح نبود. ولی امروز همین جنگ بود که ما را با این اصطلاح آشنا ساخت. همین جنگ بود که امروز هزارها نفر ما را حتی اگر کشورهای همسایه خود را ببینیم 4 میلیون افغان در اونجا آوار هستند و اگر بیرون از اون ببینیم مثل تخم ارزن در تمام نقاط دنیا پراکنده است. نمونه‌اش در همینجا شما می‌بینید ده‌ها مشکل است و هر صورت می‌فهمم که وقت ناوقت است، وقت شما رو نمی‌گیرم، سخن بسیار زیاد است و من تشکر.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saif, با معلومات بسیار مفصل با معلومات علوم شکل معلومات جامعه افغانی رو دارم با مشکلات ما با وجودی که دکتر گفتن نیستن اما درد و احساسشان درد میکنه درد جامعه. و اخیرت وقتی زیاد شما نگیرم به یک قسمت پروگرام we invite when you get speaker دوست بسیار محترم که در کم وقت مواجه شدیم راستی همه چیزی که از پیشان گفتیم و همیشه که از این دیدیم شخصیت است که بسیار با امبیشن دارند. Let me read his bio that will make it easier. محترم Atta was born in Afghanistan but left shortly after the Soviet invasion and first became a refugee in Germany. 2 weeks after his arrival in the United States, he started to work as a bank teller and built a successful 28 years career. Eventually being promoted to a senior vice president at one of the biggest firms here in the area. He is the author of award-winning memoir Lost Decency, the untold Afghan story, and recently published The Immigrant Success Plan, a family resource guide. His mission is to move and inspire the world through values, priorities, and efficiency. Join me in welcoming Afghan.
Thank you, John, our distinguished guests, panelists, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. For the fact that in the interest of time, of course, I will speak in English because I believe that everybody will understand. But again, I want to thank Dr. Rahmani and his team for putting this gathering together tonight. And I'm hoping that this is not just the last one. It will hopefully be the beginning and many more to come. Again, what has been mentioned in here during these 3-4 hours, a lot of very important subjects in the area that really I want to touch. So what I'd like to do is to summarize my comments in a way that and challenge you all. Because the world of immigrants and migration today is actually one of the biggest challenges facing humanity. Today as we speak, over 53 million people are being displaced out of their own countries. That's a lot of people. 53 million. And as a matter of fact, if you really think about it, there are no real good numbers. These must be some sort of estimates that we're putting out there, and I'm sure the numbers will be a lot more than 53 million refugees and immigrants displaced out of their countries. So during my research, especially in the last few years, to actually come up with a resource guide for immigrants, I've done a lot of studies, just the global studies of immigrations and migrations and what's really causing them. And of course, we all realize, as we speak about this 53 million or so, this is actually the largest movement after World War II. It has been never in the history of humanity so many people being forced out of their countries. So with that, as you can imagine, there are a lot of challenges. In the illnesses, and the challenges, and the trauma that people talk about today, these are all real, and as a matter of fact, they are worse than you can imagine. So what I want to do, and what I'm doing actually these days in my conversations with a lot of people in the work that I do with immigrant communities, I'll go to some of the institutions, even the European institutions that are actually trying to mobilize their communities, and also with Canadian organizations. What I'm facing and what I'm actually finding is the fact that the reality is that none of these countries, the world is not prepared to deal with the flow of refugees and migrants. It just is impossible. There are many challenges, as you can imagine, especially in the United States of America, where we have so many various challenges facing our people. You know, when we talk about education, we talk about income inequality, we talk about the level of illegal immigrants that exist, and actually, as a matter of fact, the lack of reforms that really are needed. So that's like in the United States. But what about Europe? As you all know, Europeans are actually facing a much tougher challenge that we are here in the United States. As a matter of fact, the United States is the least recipient of the latest refugee flow in the world. We did not absorb, we did not bring more refugees like European countries do. So the European nations are facing much tougher challenges. But it's not just the challenge of the governments worldwide, it's the challenge of people. So immigrants all around the world need to realize that basically that they cannot expect to get the level of services that they need from their recipient countries or their host new countries. It's just impossible. What does that mean? That means that all immigrants all around the world will have to become more self-sufficient to be successful, because there are really no other ways for them to succeed in their new lives. Look at them, their lives have already been carried half in a way. They've actually left their countries with trauma, with war, with a lot of headaches in their minds, with a lot of challenges that they have to think about not only themselves, but people that they left behind. Now they're coming into their new country, starting a new life. It's like a new world. So you can imagine what the challenges are. But what I'm here to tell you today, compared to the challenges that some European countries and some other refugees face in the world, the challenges of the United States are absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, we live in one of the countries with the most conveniences of anywhere in the world. So again, I travel a lot around the country, around the world, and the conditions of the United States versus others are very, very different because of the fact that the conveniences are here. But the problem is this, is that people do not use the resources properly. That's the biggest challenge. Tonight is a very good example. We have a huge community, but we're all the community, we're all the people that actually need to participate and learn from these wonderful speakers, in the specialists, in the doctors, in the professionals that we have. It's because what was earlier mentioned by our members is lack of communication, understanding what the resources are. And people shy away from these type of realities. And that has nothing to help them in their future. Also, is to help them, show them in your actions. Dr. Qasim talked about the gap that exists between the elderly and the younger ones. Why does it exist? Why can't our communities challenge, why can't our elders challenge their younger ones? And why can't we bring in the younger ones to really understand what the challenges are? What is stopping us from this having the conversation? And that's why I'm really hopeful that we can build on this. We can build those conversations such as tonight, bring seminars, we need to have a lot of mentorship capabilities that we need to develop and truly mobilize our communities. Again, why do we need to do that? Because our younger generation and future generations are will be challenged much more than we are. I can just assure you that being in the financial services industry for so long, I can assure you that the challenges of the next few decades will be much tougher than what we're facing today. When you talk about income level, when you talk about social security, healthcare, and the challenges ahead that will come along will be much tougher than we're dealing with today. So again, what do we do? The challenge for all of us is to prepare, mobilize, and prepare our next generation for the challenges to come. So again, what's important to understand that there are resources, but we need to become really proactive in acquiring them, understanding them. And that's what I'm hoping that I will be a part of. I'm committed. I've told our panelists that again in our community that I did what I had to do to create a very successful resource guide that actually covers all aspects of life, pretty much from the day that somebody comes in all the way to the time that they die, which includes a lot of from education to banking to the needs of buying a home, what are the differences, what are the challenges that exist, the civil responsibilities, the other aspects that actually can make immigrants successful. So that's the reason why, that's my passion, but I don't want to stop in the book. My goal and I hope is that I can help our communities by bringing them together, giving them the resources, and challenging them to really do better, participate. Because actually one of the biggest challenges against today facing humanity is, guess what? It is people that sit on the sideline and watch, they don't want to participate. That's actually the biggest challenge today, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to just mobilize again and energize people to do better with the resources that they have. So again, I want to thank you for being here and the opportunity to just let you know that we are not alone. The challenges in this world are much bigger than we have. As a matter of fact, again, when I look at the conveniences that myself, my family, my children, and our communities have, and if you go out to see the rest of the world, the challenges are by far much more than what we have here. And we need to just again be courageous to stand up, but also use the resources properly. Thank you very much again for having me.
Thanks so much, Dr. Wilson. I'm ashamed to be here. Our next guest is Dr. Rahmani. He's a pharmacist currently working in the area. He got his doctorate degree from Pacific University. His undergrad from San Francisco State University. He will briefly go over the medication therapy and psychotherapy. Medication therapy and psychotherapy. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rahmani, one of my peers.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm so sorry. I hurt my leg in basketball, and I'm now here and on speak. It was PlayStation basketball, by the way. Just kidding. It was a joke, by the way. But I did really like in sports. But I just wanted to thank a wonderful group of people, of professionals, of elderly spokesmen, knowledgeable human beings here. I just want everyone to give a round of applause for all of them. Thank you very much. And I'm going to speak in English. I'm sorry because I know there are Farsi and Pashto speakers, so I think this is probably the easiest way to do it. Basically, I didn't want to get too much in medication therapy management because there's just so much in psychotherapy, you know. And Dr. Shazay earlier spoke tremendous, you know, and that was a wealth of knowledge. I hope you guys all have the opportunity to learn from it. But I do kind of want to just briefly go over the summation of what he and his wife were talking about. Both Dr. Aisha Shazai and Dr. Shazai. The summation is pretty much simple. It's your lifestyle change. It's how you live your life on a daily basis. You know, you can live your life in a very negative way. You know, continuous smoker, drinking alcohol, all related to things that increase blood pressure, increase your lipids, increase the risk of mortality and morbidity or death. So, you know, so basically the summation I wanted to get to, and I'm coming from a pharmacological standpoint, I come from a standpoint of drugs, but you know what? That's the last thing I would recommend for my patients. That's why this organization, the Afghan Psychological Association of America, is so important to me because it has so much meaning to it. I never thought about this. That is, we can touch people not by giving them a pill, popping a pill in their mouth and swallowing it every day for the rest of their lives, and who knows what the side effects are, but by getting involved in their life, by getting involved in their life on a spiritual, on an emotional level, on a friendship level. This is what's missing in this country. This is what's missing with the new generation that is coming up.
Rahmani said that you John are going to do be careful when you play this basketball. Take care of yourself. پروگرام بزرگ بوده دواشون خوش بکنید زودتر خلاص کنیم که قسمت پروگرام آقای بود که قسمت musical performance هم ما که چهار سال کار میکنیم pretty soon we'll have that, but before the musical performance let me ask my last speaker Muhtaram Dr. Sayyid Rahmani. Dr. Sayyid Rahmani is MA, PhD, has completed his master's and PhD at John F. Kennedy University and Roseridge University, which is currently our Rose University. He has been an adjunct professor and has taught at John F. Kennedy University, Indian University, and Shabur College. Dr. Rahmani has recently published a book known as Where the Bear Met the Llama, depicting the overall psychological, social, and political problems that the Afghan people have been experiencing during the last 35 years. He is also the Dr. Phil of the Afghan community. I'm sure you all are familiar with Dr. Phil. Of the Afghan community and has been actively teaching the community on mental health issues through the television shows for the last 7 years. Currently, Dr. Rahmani has his own private practice in Fremont, California. Join me in welcoming Dr. Khalid Rahmani.
Salam and greetings to all. I know the action part is coming soon, but before I share my understanding about suicide and suicide prevention, because that was the topic they were giving me, I really would like to thank Abid John Zagay from the bottom of my heart. And let's give him a good round of applause for his commitment and service to the community and his contributions that he has made specifically tonight. It is such a wonderful service, and I appreciate that so much. در رابطه سوساید البته ما شما اگر دوستا سوال داشته باشن ما حاضر هستم به سوالتان جواب بدیم. با توصیف کنیم که مسئله mental health و امراض روانی در اجتماع ما بسیار کم شناخته شده. امروز هم ما در صدد تعویض و نمک زیارت و پشتی آوی کدامچا می رویم تا مریض خود شفا بدیم. در حالی که نه تنها یک ظلم است با مریض بلکه ظلم است با تمام فامیل. چرا در یک فامیل زمانی که یک شخص مریض میشه واقعا که تمام فامیل بسیار سخت متاثر می‌شود. ما می‌بینیم که یکی از مشکلات عمده‌ای که امروز جامعه افغانی با روز بدون شکی دریجه تفاوت‌های فکری در میان والدین و اولادها وجود دارد. چرا شخصیت‌های ما در 5 سال اول زندگی ساخته میشه و در جریان یعنی 5 سال اما چیزی که ما از محل خود یاد میگیریم او را در ایام بلوغیت او را تبارز میکنیم. Here's one of my students sitting in here, and I'm wondering, you are thinking, what am I saying, and what you're going to write your note on when you present it to me. But one of the major challenges that we have, not only within the Afghan community, but through many other communities, that mental health issues has some very severe stigma attached to it. People have a difficulty sharing about their mental health problems with their family members, and what they do, actually the family is trying to keep them away from treatment and from care. And that's where if the mental health issue is not being addressed, if it's not being intervened, and that's where my own understanding is that if you engage in early prevention and intervention, you may be able to save the life of that individual, the identified patient, but also you will be able to save a lot of headache for yourself and for the rest of the family. Now, suicide prevention and intervention, which was my topic, and I really wanted to address this specifically in light of what has happened 3 days ago here in Fremont, not a few miles away from you. A young woman is engaged in self-immolation. She sets herself on fire and she dies on spot. Now, you use trillions of dollars to bring that woman back to life. Can anyone guarantee to me that they will spend trillions and trillions of dollars to bring that woman back to life? She is gone. But these kind of events that we prepare in here, the one reason that we have to bring this whole event to Hayward, because this is a central place for people in Fremont, Union City, Hayward, almost a big part of Northern California. This event has been advertised throughout televisions, to my show, to Ramajan Rashid's show, to Khalid Ratif's show. We have advertised this event throughout the shopping centers of the Afghans. We have called friends. I personally called so many friends to come and participate, so they can learn. If you come to my clinic, forget about Dr. Shazad. Majority of these doctors will not give you more than 2 minutes. They will say, what pills you want? Go goodbye. They will not listen to you. Here, Dr. Shizai and his wife are talking to you for 1.5 hours. You have questions? He has answers for you. This is what we do through the Afghan Psychological Association of America. I want every one of you, all of you who are here, and those who are not, to come and support us. Get into the board of directors. I also would like to give you a glad tidings of very good news. Muhtaram Wakil Yafir, who has a history of more than 20 years of service to Alameda County. Those who you are living in Alameda County, you know him. He is going to be volunteering his time in my clinic starting in 2 weeks. If you have welfare problem, if you have medical problems, if you have SSI problems, if you have any problem, Muhtaram Miakhil said is going to help you out for free. I know there's a team getting ready and there's an action team I can see from the windows. So I'm not going to talk about suicide tonight, but what I'm going to talk about is make sure that when you see a member of the family breaking the doors, making holes in the walls, and saying, Mom, leave me alone so I can sleep during the day and go to the dance during the night, you have a problem in your head. You have to take that problem to the doctor, to professionals. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm deeply humbled and thankful to all of you that you came and took this time and educated yourself about mental health issues. Thank you so much.
Not to say that what we had before was not correct and wasn't interesting, but I do want to thank our speakers and commentators who spoke here, Dr. Shizai, Dr. Shizai, Dr. Sarkozim, and also Dr. Rahmani, John Rahmani, or Khalid Rahmani, we not forget Atoj also Dr. Miji, who spoke here. Thank you very much for all providing such useful information. At this point, I would like to give the stage to our next program, which دوستان ما تجیب تشریف دارن به نظر یک پارچه اتن اجرا میکنن و پروگرام رو ختم میشه. از پیش خواهش میکنم که تشریف بیارن. تشکر اجرا باز فراموش نکنم از تیم Psychological Association of Afghan American Psychological Association تیم پروگرام باز ترهیزی و پلانزوری کردن از زحماتشان از تیمشان همشان یک جان فراموش نکنم از برادر بسیار عزیز ما جان زویه که همیشه این پروگرام داوطلبانه از زحمت میکشن همیشه و که خود که بیندی خود کار میکنن یک جان ممنون بودن. قسمت آخری رو منتظر هستیم دوست اعضای تیم افغان جهانالون از تشکری همه شما پروگرام دیگه به برمی‌رسن و میرسن پروگرام آینده بدن که اکثریت دوستای دیگه را هم دیگه بگیریم. شب شما بخیر و حافظ.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. د تلویزیون قدرمنو لیدونکو، خوشحاله یم چې په دې وسیله تاسو سره مخامخ یم. زه صبور صابر یم. د اسلام مبارک دین چې د بشري ژوندانه د بشپړې نیکمرغۍ په خاطر د الله جل جلاله د نعمت په توګه د رحمان او رحیم رب له لوري نړۍ ته غوره شوی دا ټولنیز دین دی چې د نړۍ ګوټ ګوټ د خپرېدو لپاره یوازې په بلنه او تبلیغ تاکید شوی. اسلام خپل پیروان او ټول عالم بشریت د واحد خدای جل جلاله پرستش ته رابولي. د اسلام مبارک دین لارښوونه کوي چې د الله جل جلاله د مبارک کلام په لارښوونه تلنه وشي او په دې یوازینۍ وسیله د دنیوي او اخروي ژوند نیکمرغي او سرخویي ترلاسه شي. مبارک اسلام د حق، عدالت او انصاف دین دی چې په دې کې ټول مسلمانان د با عزت او آبرومند ژوند کولو حق لري. اسلام د زور زیاتی، تاوتریخوالي، تیری، ظلم او ورانۍ سره په هر اړخ کې مخالف دی. اسلام د فردي او ټولنیز ژوندانه د ودانۍ، خوشحالۍ، درناوۍ او د ټولو چارو د سمون او سمبالښت لپاره پر رغنده توګه د مرستې او همکارۍ دین دی. اسلام د توحید لارې د پیروۍ په رڼا کې ټول عالم بشریت ته تل د سولې، امن او یووالي ډاډ ورکوي. هر کله چې د ټینګ ایمان په سپېڅلتیا کې د دندې د مسؤلیت چارې په رښتینې توګه سرته ورسیږي، نو له دې سره د عام سوکاله ژوند په رامنځته کېدو سره د هر اړخیزې ګډې او په زړه پورې ګزارې ډاډ او درناوی هم پراخیږي. پاک رب دې تل مونږ ټولو ته د ښو چارو د رسولو توفیق راکړي. ومن الله توفیق.